What is up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. So, we had our first weekend with our ETG Evolutions to Glory squad and champs, and I have a lot to talk about. But first, I want to reiterate a setting that made a huge difference, and that is putting your pass receiver lock on animation start. Most everybody has it on late. Like sheep, we all just kind of follow certain settings, and so we all just said, hey, that's the best. That's what all the pros say. That's what everyone says. And I get it and makes sense in a way. But when you put animation start, what happens is you take control of the pass receiver just a few milliseconds earlier, which you wouldn't think makes a difference, but it does, right? For instance, you're passing a ball and the defender reads it and he's coming to intercept it. You controlling that attacker just a bit early, the receiver of the pass, will allow you to take just that one or two steps towards the ball that now keeps you in possession of the ball instead of losing it to the defender. Or maybe a defender is right in the way, you're about to receive it, and you know that they're just going to take it off your feet. So you just adjust the body positioning of the player receiving the pass to move the ball outside away from the defender. And now, instead of the defender taking it right off your foot, you're in possession, you take a touch, and you're ready to continue your attack. Little things like that. Even receiving the ball just with a slight turn already in play, because you took control of the receiver a bit early, will allow you that head start to successfully face forward and, get on the dribble or find your next pass, as opposed to having to receive the ball and then make that turn. And by then, maybe the defender is ready, like I said, to take the ball from you, just like the previous examples, right? So make sure you change pass receiver lock to animation start. Go give it a try. Let me know in the comment section how much it makes a difference for you. Now, before we get into the actual highlights from the weekend, and there was a lot to unpack, right? I wanted to point out these rewards, right? All this nonsense that I'm about to uncover, along with the highlights from the good football aspect and like the positives, but all the nonsense that's associated with FC as a franchise that you see on the pitch is related to players wanting these rewards. They just got to have the next biggest reward, the next objective, and all that for a few walkouts. The rewards aren't even good anymore. And even when they were good, let's just assume that you were guaranteed a Hullet or a Ronaldo or somebody. Why are you so hell-bent on getting these players just to get out on the pitch and not play good football? It's a football simulator, but people put football on the back burner because of reward obsession, objectives, and SBCs, and getting this, that, and the other. And that's what leads the players to use bad gameplay to run into defenders to try to get through on goal instead of using proper build-up. That's what leads players to go constant pressure and bad gameplay, because they know their opponent won't be able to get the ball off fast enough, so that will give them easy chances through that they didn't earn. That's what leads players to go up 1-0 and then flick the ball up to themselves and head it to the keeper, something that's illegal in real football, by the way, but not in FC. That's what leads players, even after the nerf, to flick the ball up and try bicycle kicks because they just couldn't go without it, right? And obviously it doesn't work anymore. That's where you have to give credit to EA Sports. They've done a good job of quickly removing a lot of nonsense. But nonetheless, the rewards are why players do all this stuff. And if you notice, right, and this is something I've taken upon myself, some people get upset with it. Like, why are you talking to these players like that and this and that when I message the rats, and I always ask them direct, maybe harsh, but factual questions. What do you get out of playing like this? What is your division? What is your rank? What is the purpose? What is the point of ruining a game, not playing football in a football simulator? Show me. There's got to be a reason. And it's always nonsense, right? They're always low division, low rank. They never are successful. So it's not like playing that way gets them anywhere. And none of them have anything to show. So they literally are just taking time from their life to just waste it, because they're not even playing football. There's no skill there, which is why they're so low ranked. They'll get a few extra wins here and there, especially the players relying on bad gameplay, right? Because the gameplay is so inconsistent, you're not always going to get that. And then what happens when you're expected to play actual football when there's good gameplay? And by the way, the gameplay has been much better lately. In those games, those players are going to lose. So it would be one thing if they're not wasting everyone's time, but because they're playing like that, every one of their opponents, they're wasting their time. It would be the equivalent of growing up with buddies playing football out in the yard, and you have buddies that are bad at the game, so they decide to pick the ball up and run it down and score by throwing it in the net. Clearly not even football, and they say, "What? Who cares? It's just for fun. I'm playing for fun. Don't worry about me. Why do you care what I do?" Well, quite obviously, in this instance, you get it, because they're not even playing the game. It's pointless, and you're part of the game, so you have a say in it. And it's the same thing with this. When you play against these rat losers, you have every right to speak up. Right now, PSN might get involved because these babies get sensitive and try to report you and all that. But to me, it's worth it giving them a piece of my mind, whether you agree or not. These players are ruining a game that we spend hundreds and thousands of hours on, and they're doing it for absolutely no reason. The least we could do is speak up and call them out on their nonsense, right? But besides that, like I said, the gameplay overall was much better, and we were able to play a lot of good football, right? This was the first champs with our Evolutions to Glory, and so we're still feeling things out. The chemistry wasn't there between the teams, so you could tell that there was lower chemistry, and you could also tell some of the players who were mid-evolution and also need maybe another evolution or so before they're truly competitive versus these other strong players. But that's the route we're going because it just adds a unique feel to the game. You're creating your own players, like the Geo card I have at Striker. You can't even make her evolution chain that I put together in game or in Footbin, right, where you would do a lot of this stuff. It has her like 83 shooting, lower overall, and I have her where she's 88 pace, 87 shooting, 86 or 7 dribbling, like 82 passing. She's an absolute beast. The Hazagawa, however you pronounce it, as a defensive mid, she's an absolute beast. Hullet gang, as they say, all 80s across the board. Even the Jean Francis or Jean-François, however you pronounce that in French, she's another beast, right? I had Ramirez, who I packed in a hero pack. He's an absolute monster, but I had him on the bench for a majority of the weekend because this is an Evolutions to Glory. So even though I'll have SBCs and players like that filling in, we're going for an all evolution team, and we're just going to try to make our own monsters. And then as far as the tactics that go, we went either with 4-2-3-1 or 4-2-1-3 and played them the same way. The 4-2-3-1 gives you a little more width, but in both we had our wingbacks on actual wingback setting, not fullback like we typically would. Then both defensive mids were on deep line playmaker and build up. So there's a lot of support. Sometimes we'd only have 2 players back, and the wingbacks and CDMs did a good job to recover. But then obviously we had Shadow Striker on the cam, inside forward on the wingers, advanced forward on the striker. That didn't change. But just that change with the wingbacks and defensive mids turned what can be an absolutely boring 4-2-1-3 and 4-2-3-1 because everybody's using the same settings with them and using those formations. But it is the most powerful. It's just an unfortunate part of FC. There's always that one powerful setup that's the most, most used because that's how you can be the most successful on the pitch. But with our settings, you could be successful on the pitch without being a rat. And we were able to score a lot of beautiful goals, play a lot of good football. I mean, there were times where my Bon Pastor or Gwen, my wingbacks, were literally the key cogs in our attack. Same with an overlapping Hasagawa, Jean Francis, Camavinga when he was in. Ramirez, if he was in, really just played holding mid. But he's a box crasher too. If I would have changed and put him to that, it's just I used him more defensively. So I was super happy with the improved gameplay. Outside of like 4 games, it was very good. And then there was like 4 that were pretty rough, but still better than it used to be where some games were unplayable. I was competitive in every single game, even with a much lower rated team overall than I would typically have. And so if that keeps up and we keep building on these evolutions that we already have, keep creating more monsters, we just might have a good second half stretch, let's call it, with FC26. It was looking real rough, but I could all but guarantee behind the scenes EA Sports did something with the servers. Who knows what? And obviously they will never address it because they can't, they obviously don't want to fix it head on and directly talk about the issue with us. But I just don't think there was a coincidence that when everybody finally decided to speak up about an issue I've been talking about for months, magically the gameplay got better. So who knows what it was? Hopefully it lasts though, and hopefully we can continue to enjoy good football, and for this channel we can continue to enjoy this evolutions to glory. It was a great first weekend, a lot of promise, a lot to build on. We completed our Malin card through this for the left side, and even though he struggled at times, you could tell a fully evolved Malin, and he's probably one more off from being an absolute just monster. Then other than that, Gene Francis, and then we got the big wingback evolution coming. We actually have a silver Premier League wingback Justin that could potentially be a beast for us. We could have a good Evo chain there, just in case. I have Theo, Balde, Frimpong, and Marcos Llorente in the transfer list ready for this Evo in case they can be beasts and be added to the team. And of course we already have Mindy, who could be available, where he's already ready to get this Evo to boost him even further, and he might just surpass Bonpastor for the starting spot. And that's kind of how it goes, right? Center back, we started Agbado and Terrain, I forgot her name, but Brazilian Liga 1 center back, 6 foot women's center back that we got from the team pass, and she was outstanding. But we have a Van de Ven card that's not far off from his, 2 million coin card. He's maybe one evolution away from being a monster. So we have a lot of cards like that, and it might be a bit of a struggle compared to having a full meta team, but it's well worth it. It's rewarding, and we will be there where we have a fully beast team of our own personally made monsters to go dominate with. So here's to continued good gameplay. Here's to continued good football in FC26. No rat nonsense. Here's to battling the rats. May they always suffer and lose and go nowhere. So if this video is enjoyable, please smash that like button. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure you check out my YouTube bio for ways you could support the channel and get a ton of perks, whether it's joining my Discord, which is free, a great community of people. We have merch, or YouTube memberships for early content. So check that out. I'll see you on the next one. Peace!